Let me ask you something. What do you do when everything that can go wrong does? When your strength gives out, your prayers go up and seem to bounce right back down. Do you quit or do you get up? Because here's the thing, you're not broken past repair, you're broken open for change. What appears to be the end is most often God's set up for something better. And in this letter, we're going deep into the pain, the silence, the resistance, the breaking. We're going to draw out the purpose, the power, and the comeback that's been waiting to be sparked within you all along. Let's go. Pain is not punishment. It's preparation. That's the first thing you have to allow to seep into your bones, particularly when life knocks you around and you find yourself gasping for breath, struggling to see why things are imploding. The average person will instantly assume that if they're suffering, then it must be because they've done something wrong. That somehow they've failed, let God down, fallen short, and now they're being punished. That's not how God works, though. God is not some dictator just ready to whack your wrists the minute you screw up. He is a father, a builder, a refiner. And like any master builder, he knows that growth doesn't happen through ease. It happens through pressure. You don't get muscle without resistance. You don't acquire wisdom without blunders. And you don't create authentic faith without being placed in a situation where you must apply it. God is giving you the pain, not to shatter you for good, but to reveal the soft spots, to shed what's false, and to get you ready for what's coming next. And that's the reality most people fail to see. What you're experiencing today is not the end of your book. It's an essential page. It's the middle. It's the dirty, gritty, quiet page where the foundations get sheared. The section no one gets to see, the portion that doesn't receive likes or claps. But it's where the foundation is created. And that foundation, that's what will tell you how far up you'll go when the breakthrough hits. You have to get it. God isn't out to kill you. He's out to build a you that can handle what's about to hit. He's gazing into the future and you're looking at the ground wondering why it hurts this much. You're asking him to ease up on the pressure. And he's telling you, if I do, you won't have the strength to bear what I'm calling you to bear. That dream you've been praying for, that breakthrough, that call, it takes capacity. And capacity is created in the fire, in the tears. On the nights you want to give up, we decide to show up anyway. That hurt you're experiencing isn't the cue to quit. It's the cue that something deeper is being cultivated within you. It's the stretching of your faith, the stripping of your pride, the exposing of who you really are beneath the mask. Because until you've been broken, until you've sat with nothing but your thoughts and your questions, and your God, you haven't really found your authentic strength. You still haven't accessed that place inside of you that only suffering can open. And don't think for a moment, God's not taken aback by your breaking point. He's not surprised by your tears. He anticipated you'd get to this point, and he already had the tools to rebuild you tougher, sharper, and more focused than ever before. Everybody desires the blessing, but nobody desires the breaking. They desire the stage, not the quiet. The miracle, not the process. But the process is what gets you ready for the promise. There is no bypass. You don't land in purpose by happenstance. You are made ready for it, molded for it, chiseled into it by every second that attempted to break you and failed. And when you stop perceiving pain as punishment, you begin to perceive it as training. You begin to ask new questions. Not why is this occurring to me, but what is this teaching me? Not how do I get away from this, but how do I grow out of this? That's when all the differences occur. That's when the energy shifts. That's when the pain is transformed into purpose. Because once you realize the pain is preparation, you quit fighting the wrong battle. You quit expending energy blaming people, blaming your history, blaming yourself, and you begin leaning in. You begin understanding that God isn't seeking to break you. He's seeking to build something rock solid in you, something the world didn't provide for you, and the world can't strip away. And the world can't strip away. He's getting your character ready for your calling. He's pushing your limits so he can trust you with responsibility. And the more you fight it, the longer it lasts. But when you let go, when you submit to the fire, that's when the transformation happens. And that brings us right into the second truth. God does his best work in your worst times. Not when everything is smooth. Not when the bank account's full and the plan is going good and everybody's applauding you. No, his most potent, life-changing, destiny-shaping work occurs in the silence, in the heartache, in the darkest parts of life, where you feel like nobody sees you. That's where God works. That's where he begins to rearrange things. That's where he speaks not with an audience surrounding you, but in the quiet, whispering, I'm not done with you yet. Evidence? Behold the scriptures, behold the pattern. God did not anoint David in the palace. He discovered him in the field, overlooked. He did not summon Moses from the ease of Pharaoh's home. He encountered him in the desert. He didn't utilize Paul at his best. He utilized him at his weakest, with a thorn in his side and a background of regret. And Jesus? His most triumphant moment occurred after his most suffering. Alone, betrayed, bruised, broken. And yet, it was at that moment, the darkest of darks, that the power of resurrection was unleashed. You see, we want God to act in the limelight, but he acts behind the scene. We want him to appear when everyone is looking, but he tends to appear when you and he are alone and all around you is crumbling. Because in those moments you're bare, you're honest, you're no longer faking it, and that's where God acts. Not to condemn you, not to embarrass you, but to mold you. When you have nothing left but faith, that's when faith is more than a word. It's a lifeline, a fire, a force. That's when you quit talking about trusting God and start doing it. That's when you quit quoting verses and start living them out. When God is all you have, you finally know he's all you ever needed. And it's in that space where all else has not gone well for you, that his strength will be your strength. His peace will be your anchor. His presence will be your sword. Don't wait until everything is perfect to have faith that God is working. He's not waiting on your perfection. He's working in your pain. And some of the strongest lines of your narrative are being penned at this moment, as you're bewildered, exhausted, and wondering if you're even headed in the right direction. That's the thing about faith. You don't realize the whole picture until it's over. Yeah. But just because you can't see it doesn't mean he's not constructing it. So if you're down, if you're hurting, if life has shattered you, good. Because that leaves you in the best spot for God to do something you never could have expected. You're not longer trusting in your own abilities. You're finally empty enough for him to fill you up. You're finally quiet enough to be able to hear his voice. And the same God who formed galaxies out of nothing is fully able to rebuild your life out of broken things. You might be lost, but you're just where he wants you. Not because he's nasty, but because he's building something in you that the world's never going to get until they see what it is. Breaking points are where purpose is born. Everyone looks at breaking points as the end, as a weakness, as something to be avoided. But the thing is, your breaking point is usually the point where the door to your actual calling opens. It's the point where all of what you thought was important begins to crumble, and all that's left are what's real. That's where God finds you. That's where clarity starts. Because when you're broken, you cease pretending. You cease playing the roles you thought you had to play. The masks get stripped away. The noise stops. And suddenly you're face to face with yourself and with God. The reality is no one gets to purpose without being shattered. You don't learn your mission when all is well. You learn it when all is broken, when your plans fail, when people fail you, when you have no option but to ask the tough questions. Why am I here? What was I made to do? What matters most now? That's where purpose is created, not in the spotlight, but in the ashes. You see, brokenness humbles you. It reduces you to the basics. It makes you release the superficial and get deeper into what you actually are. You begin to understand that perhaps this pain has a purpose. Perhaps this chaos has a design. Perhaps God isn't wrecking your life. He's rebuilding it into something greater than you ever dreamed. But to get there, he had to remove the things that were never meant to stay. The toxic mindsets, the shallow pursuits, the false security, the dependence on approval. It all had to break because purpose cannot live in the same space as pretense. Some of the most powerful stories you'll ever hear are from people who found purpose through pain. They didn't sign up for it. They never intended it. But when life shattered them, they made a decision. Rather than getting bogged down in the hurt, they let it propel them into something more. Rather than becoming bitter, they improved. They leaned into the pain, and in that, they discovered strength they hadn't known existed. You don't learn who you truly are until life puts you to the test. And you don't step into your God-given purpose until everything else is stripped away, and you have no choice but to rely on him. Him. What's breaking you right now might be the very thing that births the next version of you. The version that's bold, the version that's aligned, the version that's unstoppable because it's not powered by ego, but by purpose. And here's the wild part. Some of the people you admire most, the ones who inspire you, didn't get there because life was easy. They got there because life broke them And instead of staying broken, they allowed the process to rebuild them. That's the secret. That's where the fire comes from. When you're broken, you stop asking, "How do I look?" and begin asking, "What do I stand for?" You cease pursuing recognition and begin pursuing meaning. You cease requiring approval and begin moving in obedience. That's purpose. And it does not come through comfort, it comes through crisis. The identity crisis, the faith crisis, the crisis of self. And when you emerge on the other side, you're no longer living by accident. You're living with intention. You're no longer reacting. You're creating. You're no longer surviving. You're leading. And that brings us to the next truth. Your strength is forged through surrender, not control. This is where most people get it wrong. They think strength is about pushing harder, grinding more, taking control, forcing life to bend to their will. But in God's kingdom, strength looks different. It's not found in control, it's found in surrender. It's discovered when you finally let go of the burdens you were never meant to bear and you say, "God, I can't do this without you." Real strength is not pretending you're fine. It's admitting you're not and choosing to believe anyway. It's not in holding everything together. It's in trusting that even if everything falls apart, God still has you. That's the kind of strength that doesn't break under pressure. That's the kind of strength that terrifies the enemy because it doesn't come from you, it comes from heaven. When you surrender, you cease striving for results and begin flowing in obedience. You cease frantically worrying about timing and begin having faith in divine order. You cease needing answers and begin walking by faith. And in that surrendered position, something changes. You become stable, firmed up, immovable. Not because the storm departs, but because you finally learned you don't have to manage it. You just need to trust the one who does. Control is a myth that exhausts you. It siphons your energy. It fuels your fear. And worst of all, it hinders the blessings God is attempting to bring into your life. Because if you have your fists grasped around your own plans, there's no space to receive His. But when you release, when you let go of the need to have it all together, God moves in with a peace that defies understanding. And out of that realm of peace is born strength. There is a silent strength in surrender. It doesn't scream. It doesn't scream. It doesn't brag. It doesn't call attention to itself. But it can't be broken. Because when your life is in God's care, you're not trusting in temporary sources of power. You're connected to something that lasts. And it's that gives you the strength to continue moving forward when everybody else gives up. To continue believing when everything tells you you shouldn't. To continue standing when the ground is sinking beneath your feet. Most folks believe surrender is about giving up. But it's not. It's about giving over. It's about exchanging your finite view for God's infinite knowledge. It's about releasing your plan so you can live out His plan. And that transition from control to surrender, that's where the magic happens. That's where you cease reacting and begin rising. That's where you cease surviving and begin soaring. Because in surrender, you're no longer struggling to do it all in your own strength. You're no longer attempting to carry what was never yours to bear. You're walking with God, not in front of Him. And when you walk with Him, even your weakness turns to strength. Even your failure turns into fertilizer. Even your delay turns into preparation. And the thing is, God can accomplish more with 5 minutes of yielded obedience than you can accomplish with 5 years of struggling in your own ability. He doesn't desire perfection. He desires surrender. Oh, surrender. He desires the moment when you finally utter, "God, I trust you more than I trust me." And when you arrive there, when you truly arrive there, that's when all of things begin to realign. That's when your life begins to click. That's when your heart begins to mend. That's when your purpose begins to reveal itself in ways you never dreamed possible. God never wastes a wound. He takes it and transforms it. Each scar you bear, each heartache, each betrayal, each quiet night when you wept out and received no response, all of these have the power to be made new. What you've gone through is not merely a memory, but a seed. And if you give that to God, He'll take that very thing the enemy used to try and destroy you with, and He'll use it to mold your very destiny. But you have to get away from viewing pain as a useless curse and begin viewing it as a divine setup. There are people walking around with open wounds because they never handed them to the healer. They're still bleeding from situations that happened years ago. Oh, they're bitter, angry, lost, confused, not because they were broken, but because they refused to let that brokenness be transformed. And transformation doesn't happen just because time passes. It happens when you bring your wounds to God and say, "Use this." not hide it. Don't deny it. Don't act like it never occurred, but bring it out. Invite him into the hurt. That's where healing starts. You see, God doesn't waste what you've endured. He doesn't dismiss your trauma or gloss over your narrative. In fact, he desires to take every piece of it, the pieces that you're proud of and the pieces that you're ashamed of, the choices that you regret, the errors that plague you, the chapters you'd rather tear out of your book. God responds, no, we're holding on to that because I'm going to redeem it. And after he redeems it, it becomes power in your hands rather than shame on your shoulders. It becomes wisdom rather than a burden. Your wounds are your testimony, and your testimony is someone else's roadmap. There's someone out there who's going to need to know how you made it, how you got back on your feet, how you still believed, how you didn't let that thing kill you. They're going to need to know it wasn't you, it was God working through you. It was God working through. And when you tell them that story, when you reveal those wounds, you're not only being vulnerable, you're being triumphant. Because those marks are evidence that you were hurt, yes, but you were also made whole. We live in a world that conceals pain, that disguises weakness, that worships perfection. But God does the opposite. He brings light to dark places. He uses the rejected, the broken, the forgotten. He loves the blemished. And he takes the most painful moments in your life and makes them the strongest moments in your ministry. But only if you will stop running from them and begin owning them. You are not disqualified for what you went through. You're ready. You're prepared. You're prepared. And those scars, they didn't crush you, they strengthen you. They equip you with compassion, with strength, with resilience. And God is going to use them to heal others, clarify your purpose, and ignite your passion. The very thing you believe would bury you is going to be the very thing that launches you. But it begins with a mindset shift. You've got to have faith that nothing is lost in God's hands. Not the setbacks, not the nights when you didn't think you'd survive. It's all part of your boot camp. Every scar is a sword in the hands of someone who's been mended. And the devil knows that. That's why he wants to keep you embarrassed. He needs you quiet. He needs you stuck. But you're not stuck. You're being molded. And that gets us to the next truth. Comfort does not make you grow. Resistance does. You will never become what you are called to be by remaining comfortable. Discomfort is required for growth. Pressure is needed for elevation. Resistance is necessary for transformation. And the quicker you get on board with that, the quicker you quit running from the very things that need to make you stronger. Everybody desires to level up, yet nobody desires to get stretched. Everybody wishes to rise, yet nobody wishes to wrestle. But the reality is, resistance is progress. It's within the resistance that your muscle builds. It's within tension that your mentality changes. It's within struggle that your faith is made real. You do not know how to walk on water when the sea is calm. You learn in the midst of the storm when there's nothing solid under your feet but faith. Comfort is a seducer. It speaks to you saying, coast along, don't risk anything. Don't face the truth, just stay safe. But comfort never births calling. Comfort never births courage. Comfort never births fire. It anesthetizes you. It lulls you into the middle of the road. And if you're not careful, you'll begin to confuse peace with stagnation. Just because it's not difficult doesn't make it good. Just because it's easy doesn't make it God. Sometimes the exact thing he's calling you to will intimidate you. And that's the indication that you're moving out of comfort and into expansion. Consider each and every story in Scripture that's about change. None of those occurred within comfort. Moses needed to depart from the palace and move into the wilderness. Esther risked her life for her people. Daniel walked into a lion's den. Jesus himself carried a cross. And what did they all share in common? Resistance, opposition, pressure. But out of that pressure was power. Out of the fire was refinement. Out of the resistance came the reward. So don't wait for it to be easy. Don't wait for the conditions to be perfect. Stop waiting for the fear to fade. Enter the resistance. Lean into the struggle. Move despite. Because it's not about comfort, it's about capacity. And the way you grow capacity is by putting weight on it. You can't bench press a destiny with noodle arms. You've got to work out. And working out means you're going to be sore. You're going to be stretched. But that's how you grow. The hurt you are experiencing halfway through the process is an indication that something is changing, that your muscles are being ruptured so they can rebuild more powerful, that your mindset is being challenged so it may line up with truth, that your routines are being shattered so they can be reconditioned. But that never occurs if you remain in your comfort zone. The ones who do amazing things for God, the ones that leave a mark. They're not the ones who had it easiest. They're the ones who survived the resistance, who got up while it hurt, who kept coming back when it didn't add up, who trusted the process even when they couldn't see the progress. Even when they couldn't see the progress. They knew pressure wasn't their foe, it was their friend. It was molding them, honing them, and getting them ready for the next thing. You have to make peace with resistance. It's not killing you, it's trying to bring you out, the real you. The you that's fearless, the you that's concentrated, the you who's been through the fire and emerged tempered in faith. But you only encounter that person of yourself when you quit running from the load and begin to welcome it. So if you're sensing resistance today, don't flee, don't retreat, don't contract. Lean in, push back, breathe deep. It means you're expanding. It means you're growing. It means God is ordaining something inside of you that comfort never would. Trust God in the quiet. He's still active. That's one of the most difficult realities to comprehend, particularly when all around you seems quiet, chilly, and unresolved. When you're praying but nothing is moving, when you're getting out there being present, doing the right things, the doors aren't opening. When you're waiting for a sign and all you hear is quiet. That quiet can feel like a vacuum, like abandonment, like perhaps God left. But that's the lie. The quiet is not the lack of God. It's the space where your faith is tested and strengthened. It's where your faith is tested, where you are taught to walk not by what you see, not by what you hear, but by trust. We're built to get instant gratification. We like quick answers, quick returns, quick breakthroughs, but God is not in a hurry. He works beyond time, beyond our calendars. He cares more about who you're becoming than about how quickly you're getting there. And occasionally the most powerful thing he's working in, you can't be seen. It's below ground. It's behind the curtain. It's under the surface. Like a seed planted in the ground, there's a time when nothing appears to be taking place. But simply because you can't see growth doesn't mean there is none. Roots are developing. Foundations are established. And if you hurry that process, you ruin the depth. There's a spiritual maturity that only comes through silence, when the voices are quiet, when distractions are stripped away, when you're alone with your thoughts, your fears, and your God. That's when the wrestlings come. That's where the true surrender is. Because in the quiet, you can't pretend. There's no one to impress, no checklist to hide behind. Just you and the truth. And it is in this quiet that your spiritual muscles are stretched, that your ability to trust without evidence is tested. It's easy to trust when the blessings are flowing, when the prayers are being answered, when the path is clear. But what about when it's not? What about when it feels like God is nowhere to be found? Can you still believe then? That's the real test. And it's at those times that your trust moves from skin deep to soul deep. You cease to worship for what he does and begin worshiping for who he is. You cease to seek his hand and begin seeking his face. That's the change. That's the realignment. And once you've experienced that, you're never the same. The silence doesn't indicate he's forgotten about you. It indicates he's shaping you. And most of the time, the silence is guarding you. What you're requesting isn't quite ready yet. Or perhaps you're not prepared for it. Perhaps God is holding back because he understands that if he gave it to you at that moment, it would destroy you rather than bless you. That relationship, that assignment, that platform. You feel you're prepared, but God looks on things not seen. He's not holding back from you. He's seasoning you. And that preparation very often occurs in silence. So rather than fighting the silence, lean into it. Listen in it. Worship in it. Continue walking in it. Because silence does not equal inactivity. Heaven is in motion. God is operating. Angels are battling battles on your behalf that you can't even see. And at the appropriate time, not your time, but the appropriate time, what's been concealed will be revealed. What's been dormant will break through. But in the meantime, you trust. You trust that even when it's silent, he's loyal. You trust that even when you can't hear him, he's close. You trust that even when you're waiting, your narrative is still emerging precisely as it is meant to. And that brings us to the next truth. Your return begins when you decide faith over fear. Fear is loud. It shouts worst-case scenarios. It has horror flicks playing in your head. It informs you of everything that might go terribly wrong, every reason why you're not enough. Not smart enough, not tough enough. It immobilizes you. It takes away your energy. And if you're not cautious, fear will be the one driving your life. It will control your decisions. It will cause you to shrink, hide, and settle. But faith does the opposite. Faith speaks softly in the mess. It says, even now, you're not alone. It says, even here, there's still hope. Faith doesn't require evidence. It presses on even when the roadmap isn't available. It walks on water. It declares life where there is death. It believes in situations where there's no reason to. That's what sparks your comeback. Not the lack of fear, but the choice to push forward anyway. To say, yes, I'm afraid. Yes, I have no idea how this turns out. But I'm choosing to believe that God's promise is greater than my fear. Fear is nourished by what ifs. Faith is nourished by what's written. Fear gazes at the storm. Faith gazes at the Savior. And the fight between fear and faith isn't just one day. It's every day. Every morning you wake up, it's like you have a choice. Will I have fear rule today, or will I have faith lead me? And that decision decides where your life goes. Choosing faith doesn't mean you won't feel afraid. It means you don't let fear make your decisions. It means you show up to the battle, even when your knees are shaking. It means you speak the truth over your life, even when your circumstances look like a lie. It means you keep building, keep moving, keep trusting, even when it feels like nothing's working. Each comeback story starts with that one choice, to stop allowing fear to dictate you and to begin allowing faith to guide you. That's when things start to change. Not when all the external stuff changes, but when something internally changes. When you understand that the strength living within you is stronger than the fear surrounding you. When you cease waiting on courage and choose to act in obedience. That's when the momentum begins. That's when the comeback begins. Some of the most epic comebacks in history didn't start with applause. They started in obscurity, amidst a mess, in the dark. But someone chose to believe anyway, to rise up, to take another step. And that's what faith is. It's not showy. It's not always booming, but it's unrelenting. It keeps moving. It keeps showing up. And sooner or later it turns the tide. You don't need to have the whole blueprint drawn out. Have a full game plan to start your comeback. To start your comeback, faith in the next step is enough. You don't need to see the whole staircase. You just need to believe that the God who brought you this far isn't going to leave you now. And when you move in faith, even the smallest step becomes powerful. It's not about the size of your faith. It's about the object of your faith. It's about the object. When God is for you, nothing can prevent you. Not fear, not failure, not your past, not even the silence. So whatever you're facing right now, don't wait for everything to make sense before you move. Don't wait until you feel fearless before you act. Faith isn't about feelings, it's about focus. Fix your focus on the promise, not the problem. Fix your focus on the purpose, not the pain. Fix your focus on the one who never fails. Your comeback doesn't need approval. It doesn't need perfect conditions. It doesn't even require all the answers. It just requires a spark of faith, a whisper of hope, a moment of courage. And that moment, that decision to have faith in the midst of the unknown, is where the comeback starts. It's where you transition from barely making it to completely alive. It's where your story changes. It's where all the things change. Not because the fear was gone, but because faith ruled. If you've been broken, good. Because pain is not punishment, it's preparation. All the wounds that you bear are not wasted. They're a weapon in the hands of God. The silence that you sense, He's still working. He's working behind the scenes, below the surface, laying the groundwork for a version of you that fear can't take hold of, failure can't stop, and comfort zones can't enclose. When life shatters you, you're forced to meet the actual you. Filterless. Pretense is tossed aside. And in that honest, naked place, God does His most profound work. That breaking point, that was where your purpose was born. And in that pressure, that resistance, in the pain you never thought you could endure, something was made, something unmovable. You've learned that true strength isn't achieved through control. It's achieved through surrender. That true growth isn't accomplished in comfortable spaces. It's accomplished when you lean into the hard, when you trust in the dark, and when you will faith over fear. That's where the comeback starts. That's where God reverses the script. Not when things get comfortable, but when you get stronger. So if you're still alive, you're still fighting. If you're still in pain, you're still being molded. And if you're still standing, you're not finished. You're rising. Yeah. You're not defeated by the break. You're a creation of the build. Undefined, you were broken. Now you're built. Undefined, you were silenced. Now you speak with fire. Undefined, you were down. Now you're rising. This is your time. Rise up, rebuild. And remember this, God's not finished with you. Undefined, it's time to move. Motivational.